Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is April 14, 2023, and we are going to be talking about the brand new visa bulletin that just came out for May 2023. I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised. It came out a little bit early in the first half of the month. But let's take a look. We will do in this video some comparisons with the previous month and see what changed. I will also do just a brief introduction to the visa bulletin if you are new to it. But if you do want to learn more, a little bit more in depth, get a little bit more in-depth information about the visa bulletin in general and how to read it, I actually do have a separate video on this channel. It's called How to Read Visa Bulletin. So, as you guys can see, I have the visa bulletins pulled up in front of me. This is official government source, travel.state.gov from the Department of State. So we're going to open up both April 2023 and we're going to open up May 2023 and we will see what is going on. So let's start with the May 1st. Not the May 1st, but with May in general. We'll start with that. I will go over the graphs. Now, in this video, we will talk specifically about family immigration, family reunification process. So if you have I-130 alien relative petition and you're waiting for immigrant visa to become available for the beneficiary that you're trying to sponsor, this is going to be applicable to you. So I'm not really going to go through any of this information. Let's go over briefly about the categories. We got 4 different family sponsor preference categories. Whenever it comes to the availability of the immigrant visas, we have the first priority category, unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens over 21 years old. It doesn't say it here, but it should. It's over 21 years old. Then there is a second priority category. There is 2 actually subcategories within the second priority. There is F2A, spouses and children of permanent residents, and there is also F2B, unmarried sons and daughters 21 years of age or older. There's also a third priority category, married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, and the fourth priority, brothers and sisters of adult U.S. citizens, which is the category, obviously, fourth priority takes the longest to stay in line in order to, get that visa availability. Now, there are 2 different graphs. There's a graph A and graph B. For some reason, there's still confusion about what each graph represents. It's very straightforward. Basically, the graph A represents, it says final action dates, but final action dates, it's basically when the final action was taken on your case, which would be becoming documentarily qualified with NVC. Because past that point, the case is sent to the U.S. Embassy for further processing where, the beneficiary is going through the interview. And the graph B is dates for filing. It's the initial filing date, which is what we refer to as priority dates. So, when somebody says, my priority date is, February 2008, it means that they have filed their case back in, January or February 2008, and they have received the receipt from USAS saying, okay, we have received your petition, and basically we are accepting that petition. It's called notice of receipt. And the date that is on that notice of receipt, that is the priority date. That is what this graph B represents. All right, now if you are familiar with the visa bulletin, you know that for the past quite a very long time, there was absolutely no movement on the visa bulletin, and a lot of people, obviously it's not very pleasant to find out when you check and nothing is changing. And I myself have an immigration petition waiting, I myself check it for my personal purposes. So I'm not just making this video, to I don't know, be popular on YouTube or something like this. No, I have, it's personal to me, and because I've been through the process, because I am still going through the process, if I can help somebody understand some of these numbers, the way it works, it's a blessing to be able to do that. But if you do have questions anywhere along whatever information that I'm giving in this video, just post your comment with your question, in the comment section below. And I have actually a podcast on this channel. It's called Answering Your Immigration Questions, and it goes by the volume. Right now we are on volume 61, and as you can see, I have all the comments pulled up. Later today I will be answering all of them. So I do that every day, so your answer, your question, I will be able to answer it in the next couple of days. So let's start with the priority dates. Now you know that the graph B is priority dates, and we will talk about the graph itself. So you see the preference categories, you're already familiar with them. You see the chargeability areas. Now these columns right here represent the chargeability areas. There are 4 countries that have their own chargeability area: China, India, Mexico, Philippines. Everybody else is in all chargeability areas, and this column right here. So if you're not specifically from China, India, Mexico, or Philippines, you will be in this column. The reason why China, India, Mexico, Philippines have their own chargeability area is because obviously the immigration volumes, immigration numbers are higher from those countries. So some of the categories, they do have a little bit of a longer wait for the availability of the immigrant visa. So with this brief introduction to what the numbers represent, what the graphs represent, let's go to the April now, and I'm gonna scroll down on the same level as here. We'll start with the graph B. We'll talk about the priority dates first, and then we will move on to the documentarily qualified final action dates after that. So as you can see, they're on the same level. So let's start with what changes we have from April to May. So let's start with the F1. As you can see, in May, we do have a positive change, and it's quite significant one for the first priority category. So if your beneficiary is in first priority, that's definitely great news. So let's take a look. My math is pretty bad. Sorry, I was always bad with math, but August, September, October, November, December, January. So about five months, we see the update. So it moved about 5 months ahead. It's great. It's really good to find that out. Hopefully, if it stays, at least few months, every month, if we get that, we will be catching up. We will be the things will be moving forward. So that's definitely great to find out. That's for all chargeability areas. Let's see for China, India. Same thing for China, same thing for India. Unfortunately for Mexico and Philippines, there is still no movement. But if you are from Mexico or Philippines, don't be too discouraged by it. I'm thinking I'm thinking that there has to be a movement. If you see in the same preference category the movement for a certain chargeability area and you don't see for another one, it just means they have not updated those numbers yet. So I am thinking that within the next couple of issues of Visa Bulletin, we will see the movement for Mexico and Philippines as well. So do not be discouraged too much. All right, let's talk about the F2A now. F2A, it's showing current on both, but we know for a fact that this is not correct information, and I will, if I remember, well, I'll say it right now because I might forget. Because the reason why it's not correct is because we see that in final action graph, it's showing about 2.5 years delay as of right now, as of April 2023. Well, in May 2023, let's take a look. Yes, it's still showing exactly the same thing. So we know that this right here, this current, which means that there is no wait on the availability of the immigrant visas, is not correct. So again, in the next couple of months, I'm thinking we're going to see the update for this as well. All right, let's take a look at the F2B now. Let's see January 17, January 17, January. So there is absolutely no movement on the F2B. Again, if you have a beneficiary in F2B, don't be discouraged too much. When we see some movement or in other categories, in other chargeability areas, we know that stuff is moving along. All right. There is also a movement on F2B. It just has not been updated yet in these graphs on the Visa Bulletin. Again, I think in the next couple months, we see the updates for this category as well. And I've been saying it with because in April, in April we finally saw some movement in the F2A on the documentarily qualified dates, final action dates, and that kind of gives a little bit of a reassurance that, you know, things are moving along. And it wasn't a good update. It was a, you know, instead of current, it is now showing 2.5 years backlog associated with the pandemic, but at least there is some movement, there is some update. Even if it's negative, we still see the update. And once we see update in one category, like I said, next few months, we will see updates in the rest. So let's talk about the F3 now. Let's see if anything changed in F3. Okay, yep, we got some movement in F3 as well, and it is definitely positive movement. Same thing as you can see for whenever it comes to Mexico and Philippines. There is no movement for Mexico and Philippines, but again, it's not exactly the correct phrase to say there is no movement. There is movement, it's not reflected yet on the visa bulletin. I think in the next couple months we will see the movement here as well. But for all chargeability, China and India, there is definitely positive movement. This is April and it shows November 2009, and this is now May and it's showing February 2010. So it moved further into the future, which is great. That's good news. When it moves back, not so good news. When it moves forward, obviously great news. So let's see, November, we got November, December, January. So about 3 months, again, really good. If every month it moves just 3 months, we will be able to catch up pretty quickly, because in 4 months we will cover the whole year of the backlog. So hopefully it stays the same way. All right, let's take a look at the F4, fourth priority category, brothers and sisters of US citizens. So on April visa bulletin, we see December 2007. Let's take a look. February 2008. So it did not move quite a lot, just a couple months. December, January, February, couple months for all chargeability, couple months for China, couple months for let's see. Nope, India didn't move at all. India did not move at all. So it's just all chargeability, China, India, and Mexico and Philippines. As you can see, it stayed the same. So again, you know, we see movement on third priority category for India, but not the fourth priority. And it doesn't mean that there is no movement. It just means that they have not updated that yet. So with that being said, good news to, you know, whoever's category. If you see the movement, you know, finally, you know, congratulations that, you know, there's a movement in your category. But again, if in your particular category you see that there is no movement, don't be discouraged. I would still say this is positive, definitely positive news, especially seeing positive movement on the categories that take the longest, F3, F4, and we see that they're moving ahead. Some of the categories as F1, first priority category, is 6 months, 6-month progress. If it stays this way, we will be able to catch up with the backlog pretty quickly. So make sure to subscribe to this channel, because every month the new visa bulletin will come out. I will make a video like this and we will compare the previous months with the new months. We will discuss what exactly changed and what it looks like. Like I said, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them in the comments below, and I will be very happy to address them. All right, let's take a look at the final action dates now. It's a graph A, and that's the documentarily qualified dates. I'm gonna put it on the same level, a little bit higher up. No, that's too high. There you go. Okay, that's better. So let's take a look and see what changed in the final action graph. Now, again, this is the graph that shows the dates for the people that have already been documentarily qualified for. And a lot of times this graph is very helpful to determine when you will get basically your interview, when your beneficiary gets the interview, the very final interview for that immigrant visa. So let's take a look. We got our first priority, and let's see, all chargeability. Okay, so not by a lot, just about 2 weeks. Okay, well, 1st December 2014 and then 15 December 2014. It moved, not by a lot. Same for China, India. What about Mexico? Mexico and Philippines, unfortunately no movement. But again, just because there is no update for certain category, for a certain chargeability area, it doesn't mean that there is no movement. It just means that we're still waiting to see the update. Now, F2A, I already mentioned, it did not change. And here with this example, F2A, I often use it to help determine when you have your interview scheduled, because F2A is the category that used to be current, and we can see it still being current in the dates for filing, which is not correct information. This is correct information. And a few things that we can kind of take out of this date, because it's about 2.5 years back, we know that people that have been documentarily qualified, as of right now, they are waiting about 2 years, 2.5 years to get their interviews scheduled, all right? We also know that the reason why we have this crazy wait on the interviews, because you're already documentarily qualified, you should have your interview pretty quick, right? But the reason why we have this crazy backlog on the basically interviews on the applications that have already been documentarily qualified is because we had all the closures associated with the pandemic a couple of years ago. Nothing was processed, everything was, frozen. So this is now we know how much of that backlog we have. It have not updated in a month, but we will see in the next few months. I think this thing's gonna be speeding up. Why? Again, because this particular category was, for the most part, always current. Why? Because there is a large number of immigrant visas that is available for this specific category. That's spouses and children under 21 of permanent residents. Now, moving further to the F2B, let's see if there's any change on F2B. There's absolutely no change on F2B whenever it comes to documentarily qualified dates. So again, don't be discouraged if you are an F2B. If you have a documentarily qualified petition in F2B and you're waiting for an interview, a very rough estimate would be a good, reference point, the F2A. F2A would be a good reference point because we know that for F2A, it's about 2.5 years. So for F2B, if you're already documentarily qualified and if you have your priority date back around January 2017, December 2016, around 2.5 years, people are waiting for the interviews on petitions that have been documentarily qualified. But again, I think in the next few issues of the Visa Bulletin, we will have our answers and we will know better. All right, now let's look at the F3 category. Here it is, this category right here, and we're gonna switch. All right, so we got some movement in F3 for all chargeability, for China, for India, not for Mexico, unfortunately, and not for Philippines. So looks like Mexico and Philippines were still waiting for an update, but we do have 1 month ahead in the F3. Hopefully things will speed up a little bit, but even if it's just 1 month, it's still better than looking at it and nothing is changing. Again, don't be too discouraged if there's nothing changing, because it's just not updated. All right, it's just not updated on the Visa Bulletin. So hopefully in the next few months we will see the updates. F4, let's take a look at that. This is April, this is May, all right, and March, April, again, just 1 month for all chargeability and for China, but for India, Mexico, and Philippines, no updates. So I know I'm going a little bit fast in this video. I just, try to hopefully if you stick around on this channel and if you ask your questions and if you watch this video, these updates specifically for the Visa Bulletin, you will be able to kind of keep up with the information that we get. Visa Bulletin, it comes out every month. So, if you're looking at the Visa Bulletin every single month, and for most people, it's just one category. You're looking at, okay, I have a brother waiting, so I'm just looking at F4 and I ignore everything else for the most part, right? But if you're doing it every month, you become pretty familiar with it. You become pretty comfortable with understanding these dates. And once you see them change, you understand whether it's a good change or bad change. But if I am going too fast, again, don't hesitate to just post your question in the comments below and I will be happy to address them in one of my videos. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I will be happy to address them. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.